Welcome to Secret Story. My neighbor, Sam, washes her car every Saturday. I know because watching her spread the sudsy water over the classic lines of her Chevelle is a highlight of my week. The car was left to her by her dying father. It was his pride and joy, outside of his only daughter. So, naturally, the car means everything to her. She treats it like it's her baby. You don't see that often in women, like you do men, but damn is it hot. Caring for that car is like a religion for her, and she is extremely devoted. When my parents wanted to downgrade to a smaller house, they let me have this place for a steal. Sam, and her aunt, moved in next door 3 years ago. Her aunt has dementia and Sam spends most of her time caring for her. From what I can see, neither of them has any other family they can rely on. No one, at least, who care enough to come visit them. Even though Sam is a nurse, I often think she is far too young to be spending her days with so much responsibility. At 30, she should be starting a life of her own, not having to care for a sick and dying aunt. Every Saturday at 10, she comes out, wearing her white t-shirt and booty shorts. She is always barefoot. Just seeing her cute little feet and her very nice legs get splashed by all that soapy water makes my day. She really makes a production out of the whole thing, dragging out a couple of buckets full of cleaning supplies while the same station plays on the Chevelle's radio. It takes her about 2 hours to clean it, inside and out, and she never seems to be in a rush. Maybe it's cathartic for her, but she'll blast that radio so loud I can hear it clearly from my home. I don't mind though. I love the way she moves to the beat of the music. Nothing stops her from washing that car each week. She's always smiling and singing along with the radio, and never fails to wave cheerfully at anyone who walks by. Somehow, she still seems to possess the youthful beauty of a teenager. That's probably why more men seem to be out walking their dogs or jogging down our street on Saturday mornings since she moved in. She's rather on the short side, but I guess anyone would be when compared to my 6'2" frame. She is slim. She is not what most would call classically, but rather, the girl next door type. Befitting enough, isn't it? I have my own Saturday morning habit. I enjoy coming out and sitting on my porch while having a cup of coffee and reading the paper. I find it to be a relaxing way to begin my weekend. If I were to be completely honest though, it's more about watching Sam her butt as she dances around her car than it is about reading the sports page. No matter how hot it gets, she always keeps her dark hair down. I just love the way she brushes it out of her face while she works. I have spent many a Saturday evening reliving that memory while. "Good morning, David," Sam says, snapping me out of my fantasy. She's all smiles as she stands there, raising her hand up to block the sun. "How are you this beautiful morning?" "Good morning to you, Sam. I have my coffee and my paper. Who could ask for anything more? How about you?" "You can always ask for more, but you do seem to be easily pleased." "Nothing wrong with that," she teases me. "I'm great. Aunt Lilith had a bad night though, so I did as well. She's resting now, thankfully." "Poor auntie." Sam's smile fades for a minute, but it comes back quickly. She refuses to be sad or dwell in matters she can't control. She is all too familiar with loss. "Yes, it's good she's resting, and she's lucky to have a niece like you." I offer her the most obvious reply, not knowing fully what to say. "Care for a cup of coffee?" "You know, I'd love one." "Thanks." Her smile seems to truly brighten by such a simple gesture. "2 sugars and lots of creamer," I say, knowing how she likes it. This isn't my first time supplying her my habit. It's mostly an excuse to be near her, even if only for a few minutes. As Sam goes over to the hose and fills her bucket, I take a moment to enjoy the view of her walking away from me. I turn to head inside before she catches me. I need a few minutes for my to calm down before I'm any closer to her. I fill her coffee in one of my travel mugs, making it easier for her. I also refill mine before I head back out. When I get to her driveway, she's already started washing the car. Well, that didn't take much. I think to myself. She stops what she's doing and takes a gentle sip from the mug. Perfect. You're the only person who makes my coffee the way I like it. I'm not sure how true that is. It isn't complicated after all, but it is nice to hear say it anyway. I appreciate the effort she makes to be sweet. You're welcome. Don't let me bother you, I'll let you get back to your morning. We wave at one another as I walk back up to my porch. LL the while watching Sam from the corner of my eyes. After a few minutes, I allow myself to start again, edging myself closer than before, but stopping again. I pick up the few things I brought out with me and head inside. Sam is nearly done. It is pushing noon and it isn't often she goes past this time. I drop the paper in the trash, my cup in the sink and take the stairs two at a time up to the bathroom. You know, a murderer or even worse, the boogeyman, could come in and do some bad shit to you. A giggling, soft voice says from out of nowhere that I feel myself jump 10 feet when I hear her voice in the bathroom with me. My eyes fly open and there she is. Sam is standing there, peeking behind the curtain, with a wicked grin on her face. My heart is slamming so hard it hurts and my pulse is racing. How embarrassing is that? Why's that? I try to ask casually, doing my best to pretend she hadn't scared me. It's amazing how hard a man will try to be cool in situations as hopeless as this. Still, I try to compose myself, but then realize, in the shower. Sam, is there something I can help you with? The question seems ridiculous, but then I've never had her just walk into my shower before. I thought to myself, as I was washing my car, why is it David isn't reading his newspaper? I've not seen him turn the page in almost an hour. How odd is that? Then, I started watching you. I could see the way your arm was moving, David. As she says this, I feel like a little kid caught stealing candy from the candy jar at a store. I'm about to fumble with endless excuses. But Sam continues. When you went in, I thought that maybe it is finally time to do something I've wanted to do since I met you a few years ago. With that, she opens the curtain the rest of the way. Sam doesn't say anything, as she turns back around. I'm stunned yet again by this beauty. Is there nothing she won't do? I'm not sure I can control myself with her now, not after this. I don't know if I can do just a one-time thing. But I can't worry about that right now. I'll just savor this moment. She bends over slightly and my fantasy of her bending over the car flashes in my mind. Not missing a beat, I don't stop. I slow down a little, but not much, loving the sensation. She stands upright after a minute, turning towards me. Her smile still there, as it always is. I cup her face and kiss her deeply. It's only then the water becomes intolerable. Now go make me a sandwich, Sam demands, giggling at her own joke. After that, you deserve more than a silly sandwich, I confess. I'm only playing. You don't have to. No, I insist. Please stay for lunch. We move into my bedroom, where I hand her one of my shirts. It's huge on her, but she looks cute as a button. Sam does stay for lunch, which is fairly simple. We indulge ourselves on cold fried chicken that I had made the night before and pasta salad. Sam tells me she has had a crush on me for a while, and has known for a long time about my dirty little secret. I had no idea she had a thing for me, but knowing this now. Surely this means we can fulfill my other fantasies together. Who knows, right? Copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise state. Welcome to Secret Story. Since I am now 38 years old, this story took place 22 years ago, when I was 16 and very, very horny. What 16-year-old boy isn't? It happened at the cabin my parents owned, on a small plot on the shore of a lake in Michigan. The cabin was really a small, old and well-worn house, with a kitchenette, 2 bedrooms, 1 small bathroom, and a small dock jutting into the lake, fine for a summer vacation, but way too small for a family of 5, Mom, Dad, 2 sisters, and me, to live in for more than a week or 2. Mom has 2 sisters, an older one that we rarely saw, and Maria, 2 years younger than Mom, who came to visit a couple of times a year, sometimes at our home in Grand Rapids, and sometimes at our cabin. Mom and Maria were very close, and had similar figures, average height, a few pounds heavy, and fairly large busted. On the other hand, Mom tended to dress very conservatively sometime near the start of school, so probably late August. My mom, Maria, one of my sisters, and I were at the cabin for a week. My dad and other sister were off doing some father-daughter thing, which was fine by me, as that was 2 fewer people stuffed into the small cabin. Mom and her sister slept in 1 bedroom, while my sister and I shared the other, 1 bed but 2 sleeping bags. Julie is 2 years older, so I am sure she was none too thrilled to share a room with her 16-year-old brother. However, we'd been vacationing at the cabin and sharing bedrooms our whole lives, so it was not too big a deal either. As I said, Maria, who was about 40 at the time, loved to show her figure, though she had a few extra pounds. I remember well that for this vacation she had brought a 1-piece swimsuit with her, blue with flower patterns on it, and, no surprise. Probably because of all the estrogen in the cabin, I spent more time than usual either hiking alone in the nearby hills, or out relaxing and reading on the shore or the dock. Sometimes Mom or Maria or Julie would join me, but they spent a lot more time in the cabin, talking, cooking meals, playing cards, and whatever it is women do when they spend hours together. Toward the end of the vacation, late in one afternoon, I was on the dock on a blanket. I had been reading, but tired of that, and I guess the quiet and the warm sun put me to sleep. At some point, I was wakened by my Aunt Maria, who had come down to catch some rays herself. I was wakened by the squeaking wood as she walked on it, and sat up startled. "Oh, I'm sorry, Brian. I did not realize you were asleep." "That's okay, Aunt Maria," I told her as she walked up to where I was laying. She had a beach towel wrapped around her, so I said, "Did you come down to catch some sun?" "Yes, we're only here a couple of more days, and I'd like more of a tan than I have gotten so far." "Sounds good," I said, as I turned over and picked up my book to read some more. "Pretty nice, huh, Brian?" she chuckled. That I turned a bit red, not knowing how to respond. When she saw that I was tongue-tied, she laughed again, and said, "So, Brian, you obviously have hit puberty and are growing so fast you will soon be taller than me and your mom. Have you reached the point where you like to look at girls?" "Well," I stammered, "I guess so." I was not sure whether to admit this, but something in her casual question said it was okay. "A few times." By now she had sat beside me. "Yes." I was stammering again. "I guess so." "You seem to be guessing a lot today," Maria teased me. I don't recall, but I am quite sure she probably had a sly grin on her face as she asked me this. I, on the other hand, was still just barely coherent. "No, I guess that would be fine." Turns out that Mom and Julie had decided to take a hike, and would be gone for a while, so we were pretty much alone, unless someone came close in a boat. "More guessing, I see." "Well, I hate tan lines, and you're old enough to appreciate my goodies, so take a good look." With that, "No," I replied, "well, there has to be a first time." She sat up, reached into her beach bag and took out a bottle of sun-tan lotion and handed it to me. I guess I must have done a good enough job. A couple of minutes later I finished with her legs and feet, and was not quite sure what was next. Maria sat up, and patted my towel next to her. "Sit down and let's talk," she said. But, then, I grew up in a conservative household, and my mother and sisters would never be comfortable like that. "Do you mind if I play with this?" she asked. "No." I once again stammered. "Does it feel good?" she asked. "Yes, I guess you have a lot to learn." If you are okay with it, I'll teach you a few things, but you have to promise not to tell anyone, or we could both get in a lot of trouble. I don't know about others, but I would have done anything to have her teach me a few things, and keeping my mouth shut about it was a no-brainer. I won't tell anyone. Okay, she said, looking around to make sure there were no boats nearby. And then back at the cabin to see if Mom and Julie had returned. Isn't that where you put your? Yep, and I guarantee you're going to like it. After a half-minute or so, she slowed down, then lifted up her head that we gathered up our stuff and walked back to the cabin. On the way, Maria told me, your mother and sister went on a hike, so I think they'll be gone for a while. However, if we hear them return, we have to move like hell to not get caught. So, we're going to your bedroom, and if we hear anything, I'll jump up and run to the bathroom. I'll put some clothes in there so I can come out dressed. If I leave anything in the bedroom, hide it until you can give it back to me. Talking like this made me think my aunt had lived on the edge of getting caught before. At the time, I was happy to follow any instructions she might offer. When we got back to the cabin, Maria put an outfit into the bathroom, as well as her beach towel. She turned around and saw me standing there watching, and, with a sly grin, said, "Okay, Brian, time for another show." I was a bit taken aback, but since she was in charge, I did as I was told. After another minute or so, I exhausted, "Okay, we'd better clean up and start acting like aunt and nephew again," Maria said, as she got up and headed toward the bathroom. "Can we do this again sometime?" I asked. "These babies need a lot of attention. I will be calling you to any time I get a chance." Nephew. End, copyright 2024, all rights reserved. No part of this story can be reproduced in any form or by any electronic or mechanical means without written permission from the author. All characters are fictitious, and any similarity to actual people, living or dead, events, or locales is entirely coincidental unless otherwise stated.